Welcome into Colorado Conversations. Today, I'm Matt Mauro. Hope you're having a great day. Today, we are talking all things blood and the need for it here in Colorado and all across the country. My guest today is Andrea Miller, the regional CEO of the Red Cross of Colorado and Wyoming. Andrea, thanks so much for being here and talking about this. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. There was a blood crisis. For just the second time ever, the Red Cross issued that just about a week ago as we're recording this, the beginning of August. What exactly does that mean?
You're right. It is the second time that the Red Cross has declared it. It means we're in dire need of donors to keep blood on the shelves for emergencies and all kinds of other things like surgeries and just the care that people need when they might need a blood transfusion. We saw in June a 25% decrease in donors.
Wow. I've heard the Red Cross, like over the years, talk about we need blood. We need blood. What gets it to this point where you issue this alert for a crisis versus just, hey, we really need people to donate blood right now?
That's a great question. It really is that imbalance of donors coming in and providing the product that's needed in hospitals and other medical centers to the volume that's needed in those hospitals and medical centers. Summertime sees an increase in emergency room visits for those things like maybe surgeries or a bike crash or things like that happen because people are out and about more often when in the summertime. So that goes up a little bit, but then also we see this decrease every summer of people on vacation, their kids are out of school, they have a busy life in the summertime, and sometimes we don't see donors. This one's been, the balance has been worse this year.
Yeah. What do you think is making this year worse than, say, like that typical summertime pattern that you talk about?
There are other factors in play. We know that things like the donors are not just coming in, they're not coming in as often. Other barriers outside of the summertime fun that they're having and their busy schedules, things like poor air quality, the extreme heat. We've had some of those foodborne illnesses. We're seeing other factors keep people from coming in to donate.
So when you talk about, say, the air quality as we're recording this, the air quality here in Denver is really bad right now. And it's been that way many days throughout the summer. Does that just stop some people from wanting to go outside and be in that air and say that's why they don't go donate blood? Or is there something else associated with it?
That's certainly part of it. Yeah, people want to stay inside. We want people to be healthy and safe. So we put out those air quality notifications like the news channels and counties and other things you get in your alerts. We do that with the Red Cross. We have an app that sends out alerts on air quality. And people then say, well, then I need to stay home. So then we'll see a cancellation or just people not signing up.
Yeah. Do the wildfires here in Colorado and the impact of people being out of their homes and obviously the smoke from those as well, does that have an effect on people donating or the need for it as well?
It does. We'll see we have a blood drive scheduled, for example, and that blood drive has to be canceled. We had one in the Pueblo fires that was scheduled, and they had to cancel. They couldn't handle the capacity for that because of the needs of the community in serving those who evacuated from the fires. We'll see that across the country. Our blood program is a national program, and so any kind of disaster disrupts the blood donation process for those communities.
Got it. What's the donation, or what have the donations been like, say, here in the Colorado and Wyoming area that you're in charge of?
They've been great as far as people. We have more donors in the sense than sometimes spaces, but that dip in the summertime, that we can see that. We try to be at that 100% mark, and we'll get there with appointments, but then all the other conditions around summer, people can have some no-shows, we can have some cancellations. We need, especially at this national crisis moment, to be at 100%, or we know that if we get 3 extra people on a drive that's completely full, we would be solving this. We just need a few more people to step up and help us out with it.
That's it? That's all it takes? 3 more at a drive that's already full?
Yes. If you have a drive that's 100% full and 100% people show up, we know that our phlebotomists are such pros at taking blood and making sure that the care is there for those donors that we can get a few more people in. And that's what it takes to replenish some of that diminished supply.
So what's the response been since the Red Cross put this out in the last week of July?
It's been good, but it can be better. We know that we need a few more donors to come in. And again, with that national blood program, we've had some of those disruptions across the country with heat and fires, tornadoes, any of those things. When another market experiences some of those shortages in appointments, other markets like ours, where we have generous donors, that generosity, we need people to step up. So,
is the blood shared across markets in terms of if blood is donated and you have enough here in Colorado or Wyoming, can it go to other states, and the same, can other states' blood end up here?
It can. So I mentioned the National Blood Program. The Red Cross does that system so we can serve across the country. So when someone donates here in Colorado, it is per FDA requirements processed properly in a manufacturing facility. It's great. We have an app that you can use, a Red Cross Blood app, and I can see that I'm donating on Friday. And after the blood processes, I can see where that goes. It might go save a life in Minneapolis, or it could save a life in Denver. It's just the strength of our donation program nationally can help save lives across the country.
That's really fascinating that people can actually see where the blood they donate goes and maybe in a way like how it ends up helping somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We're also in a platelet crisis. In addition to blood, platelets are also in high demand. Again, that summertime need. Platelets are used for some very critical life-saving cancer treatments. And so, again, with the national program, I could donate platelets here. I could donate platelets. So we don't have platelet donation quite yet here in Colorado. But when it does, you could donate it here. You could donate it in another market that does it. And it could save a life across the country.
Maybe sound like an ignorant question, but like, what's the difference in terms of how platelets help someone versus how blood helps somebody, and then how's the donation process different?
Well, with blood is definitely the kinds of needs for blood, whether it's a surgery, a trauma care, a transfusion for a need like sickle cell disease. That blood goes into the system and is used for a variety of purposes. Platelets are a very specific type of blood product that really is used for things like cancer treatment. So they all have their own purpose, but are very in much need right now.
In terms of if somebody donates, say, platelets versus blood, is it a different process? Does it take any longer or anything?
It does. I would say, again, in Colorado, we're not quite there yet for platelet collection. We have our partners here in the Denver area, like Children's Hospital and a couple other entities that collect platelets. It is a longer process. We have a process for our blood collection. There's whole blood donation and what we call Power Red. That's an amazing way to donate blood if you are able to do that. It takes a little bit longer, but there's more blood drawn from the patient, from the donor, so that there's more blood on the shelves for folks. So we encourage if someone comes into a Red Cross donation center, if they're able to choose Power Red.
Okay. So that's just a little bit, you're giving a little bit more blood when you donate. Is that basically what that is?
You are, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a process that it really makes it so the donor finds that they actually feel pretty good when they leave.
Okay.
So it isn't like that they're completely drained for the day or for the week. It feels really good to donate more, but there's a process that our phlebotomists and the machinery does that will help get more on those shelves.
Okay. We'll talk more about the need for blood here in Colorado and Wyoming and across the country with Andrea Miller coming up in just a minute. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Colorado Conversations. Today, I'm Matt Mauro. My guest is Andrea Miller, the regional CEO of the Red Cross of Colorado and Wyoming. We're talking about the need for blood. Just about a week ago, as we're recording this, the beginning of August, the Red Cross, Andrea, put out an alert saying they're in a crisis mode right now because there's not enough blood going around. In fact, at one point, they said they're at risk of running out of type O blood and really having to limit what they send to hospitals and to clinics. What does that mean for patients, whether it be someone who has cancer or someone who's in a crash or someone like that who needs blood and they're in the hospital?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that type O. Type O, 50% of Americans have type O blood. It's the universal blood. And oftentimes doctors, when they don't know a person's blood type, say in that situation of a crash and they aren't able to find out that blood type, they use that universal type O to administer to that patient to save their lives most often. And so when we have a crisis and O is in high demand, that's doctors and medical centers and emergency rooms will have to make some critical decisions. Elective surgeries may need to be placed on hold, and they have to prioritize the patient. So it's a need that we find that we have with type O blood in a crisis. That marker is we have sometimes 1 day of reserve of type O. So we have to keep that blood donation coming through to make sure that we keep that 1 day supply fresh. We want more than that. We want days and days of supply on the shelves.
I was going to say, what's a comfortable supply to have? If 1 day is kind of where you're at right now, where would you be kind of comfortable and feel okay with things?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the exact answer. I know that when we're in a blood shortage, it's 3 to 5 days. So you can imagine that if we're in a stable environment, it's much more than that.
It's going to be well over 5,
Absolutely.
and then hence the 1 day right now.
Yes.
That's why they're in a crisis. And you touched on it a second ago, but the effect on people is if you have surgery scheduled, you might not be able to have it.
Yes, the elective surgery might be placed on hold, which then delays your care. How long, it depends on this shortage of the crisis that we're in. When you get ready for that surgery, you're kind of mentally ready and physically ready, and then you have to delay it. That can create a lot of strife for the family and for the individual.
Definitely. And I know recently some of the fire departments and paramedics around the metro area here in Denver started carrying whole blood. Does this affect the availability for them to have it in an emergency situation as well?
It does. It does. Every entity that uses the blood across the country is seeing that same shortage, same crisis.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about before that you've had a decent response. You didn't seem thrilled with it.
Yeah, we need more. Yes,
you need more.
Yes.
The last time the Red Cross did this, in fact, the only time the Red Cross issued this crisis was back in, I believe, January of 2022.
Correct.
What was the result then, and what did the Red Cross and sort of workers who deal with the blood and blood shortage, what did they learn from that?
I want to say I can't speak too much on that because I wasn't here at the Red Cross at that time. I know that our team in the biomedical division, they work really hard to create those strategies around how to make sure that that doesn't happen again. That's why it's only the second time we've done that. When we had that in 2022, little I know of it is they really sat down and said, okay, how do we try to make sure this doesn't happen again? It is just being very thoughtful about the care of our donors. Yeah.
Got it. If people want to donate, what do they need to know? If people have questions about, can I donate? What does it take? How much time? Where do I go and do it? All that sort of thing.
Yeah, best resource, redcrossblood.org or 1-800-RED-CROSS. They can make their appointments there. As I mentioned the app before, I love that app because you can find out where appointments are in your area. It keeps track now that you have an account, so how much you've donated, where to go. If you're out of town, you can donate blood. It's just a really good resource. But that redcrossblood.org will give you all the information you need. If you're a first-time donor, what to expect. If you're donating Power Red, it takes a little bit more time. I will say a first-time donor, just go in there and know that you're going to spend some time registering, giving your health history. Once that's captured, you go in again, it's a lot easier. We have these rapid passes. So you have the app, you show your rapid pass, it has all your information on it, it makes the process faster. But that first-time donation process takes a little bit of time. I would say leave about an hour time between gathering your health history and making the donation. The donation itself, if it's the standard and not the Power Red, 10, 15 minutes and you're
That's it.
back to work, back to school, whatever it looks like. Yeah.
Are most of the people who you find donating blood here in Colorado and Wyoming, are they people doing it for the first time, or are they people who do it again and again and again and come back?
It's a mix. It really is a mix. It's great to see that we have some first-time donors. We have people that just can't donate blood for whatever medical reason, or they just don't feel comfortable donating blood, that have served as volunteers, as blood ambassadors that are, they register people, but they also will say, like, drive your family member that wants to donate blood. It's a great way to get involved in that process. So it's a mix all across the board.
Yeah. Have you started doing more blood drives out in the community to help meet people sort of where they are, especially with the crisis?
We do. We have blood drives all over the Denver metro area. We've gone up to Cheyenne recently. We'll try a couple of times a year to get across to get the western slope. But in this time, the number of blood drives that are not only at our Sherman Street site where we have on Monday and Friday, a lot of businesses have stepped up, churches, community groups. If they have the space and all the right conditions for a blood drive, they'll open them up to the public. You can find them. I'm donating at Denver Health this week, so you can find a lot of availability outside of our center at Sherman Street.
Yeah. And then how often can people donate?
There is a time limit. I can't recall the time limit, but yeah, your body needs a little bit of time to rest and recover, and
it sort of regenerates. It makes more blood, good blood that you kind of donated right there.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you want people to know about that?
But the blood process?
Just anything. Anything about it. Your pitch to people to say, please donate blood.
Yes. I would say every 2 seconds in the United States, someone needs blood. That is a critical moment.
2 seconds?
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood in the United States. So if we're in a blood crisis and our universal type O is low on the shelf, a one-day cycle, we're just maintaining that and not building that, we need everybody to step up and help us save a life.
All right, well said. We'll be right back here on Colorado Conversations. More with Andrea Miller. Stay there. We're back on Colorado Conversations today. My guest is Andrea Miller, the regional CEO of the Red Cross for Colorado and Wyoming. We're talking about the Red Cross's sort of crisis situation right now with the need for blood down to just a day's supply in some areas. You talked about how people can donate. You talked about blood drives, but And you touched a few minutes ago on this idea that businesses or other organizations can host a drive. How do they do that? What do they need?
Yeah, they can go to redcross.org, 1-800-RED-CROSS. Call the office here in Denver. We'll get them connected to our account managers that can find out if they have the right space that we need to make sure we have 1,000 square feet, the proper cooling. We make sure people feel comfortable in the space, electricity, access, all kinds of things. After the person calling in, whether it's a business, a church, a community organization, once they're set with those requirements, they can schedule that drive. They can open it to the public. They can recruit their employees, their congregates to really get involved in the blood drive.
And the Red Cross brings everything that the business needs. You bring the phlebotomist, you bring all the equipment, everything.
Oh, yeah, everything. It's, one-stop shop, brought right to you.
Okay, so this is going on. At the same time, the Red Cross has done so much work with the wildfires here in Colorado, especially down south, the Aspen Acres fire near Pueblo. I think at one point there were hundreds and hundreds of people evacuated from their homes. How has that gone in terms of the need down there and what you're seeing the response from the community?
Yeah, at this point, we're in recovery mode. We had shelters run for a couple of weeks continuously between our partners at the city of Pueblo, the Parks and Rec Department, Humane Society, the state agencies. There have been so many partners, emergency managers that have supported the community. The Red Cross came in and provided sheltering, feeding, mental health, physical health, and spiritual care. Now we're in client care mode and making sure that those who are returning to their homes, if they're able, have the resources they need. If they're not able to return to their homes, what's next for them? What's their new normal look like? That's what phase we're in.
Hey, talk about, obviously that maybe the emergency with the fire, it's now getting contained. People are allowed to go back home, but the trauma to all those people affected isn't over just yet, and that can linger for quite some time. And because of that, your work isn't done either.
It isn't. Yeah, that's the beauty of the Red Cross is we think of the whole person. So it isn't just a roof over your heads and a meal in your belly. It is thinking about your physical well-being, your mental health, your spiritual health, and providing those resources that can get you back on your feet. It is a long process.
Do you need to get restocked with any supplies that people can donate or financial donations after the start of a really rough fire season here in Colorado?
Yeah, we definitely would always take in any kind of financial donations. We have a nice system of providing the right supplies at the right time. And in community partners like the Humane Society or the Parks Departments or any of those, the United Way of Southern Colorado, they were those holders of things. Like if people wanted to donate physical items, we have those partners. But the Red Cross really does operate on the generosity of our donors.
Got it. All right, well said. Andrea Miller, the regional CEO of the Red Cross for Colorado and Wyoming. Again, the message today, donate blood if you can, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, make your appointment.
All right, Andrea, thanks so much. Thank you for joining us here on Colorado Conversations. We'll see you next time.